This is Akashvani in the program Spotlight on National Education Day. Now we bring you a discussion on transforming India's education system and embracing innovation. The participants are Dr. J.S. Rajput, educationist, and S. Rangabhashyam, anchor.
Dr. Rajput, a warm welcome to the program. Today, as we know, is the National Education Day, that is the 11th of November. And as all of us know, this is to commemorate the birth anniversary of the first education minister of independent India, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. And this year, the theme for National Education Day is embracing innovation. Dr. Rajput, tell us how easy and percolating is innovation in the sector of education.
Thank you very much. I'm indeed happy that the nation remembers Maulana Azad. I was deeply impressed in my younger days by reading one of his statements, and that remains, learning to live together remains a challenge before education, not only in India but worldwide. You have brought up the issue of innovations. Innovations take place when education systems are conscious, alert, and dynamic, and where innovations occur in places when children are allowed to think and their two of the boons, natural boons, are encouraged by the system. I am quoting Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, who said every child gets two boons from God, or you can say nature. And these are power of ideas and power of imagination. Unfortunately, the education system that we inherited and which still continues to a greater extent, impedes both of these throughout, particularly in the school education. So innovations will occur in a system where right from the initial years, child is allowed to think, his ideas are welcome, they are not assessed at the level of the grown-ups. They must be encouraged to think, they must be allowed to imagine. Their curiosity, very important, must be enhanced, inspired by the parents and teachers. And then creativity will result. If you have these four terms dominating your education, ideas, imagination, curiosity, and creativity, innovations will fall in abundance. And this is the idea that somehow finds an expression if you read various parts of the national education policy also. This is the only hope. Simply by giving a scheme or asking the school to innovate, we will get some results, no doubt about it. Encouragement will take place. But if you want abundance of innovations, go to primary schools. For any major change, any sociological change, psychological change, any attitudinal transformation of a society requires going to school education. And I, based upon my personal experience and studies, insist go to the primary schools.
Dr. Rajput, let's talk about the National Education Policy 2020. We all know that, the earlier policy was formulated in the year 1986 and maybe, tinkered a little bit in 1992 as well. What are the major differences between the earlier policy and what could not be achieved with the earlier policy, which we now envisage to achieve with the National Education Policy 2020?
Basically, we had inherited a system which was transplanted from outside, which had different objectives to prepare a few educated persons who would serve the British government. In 1947 or 1950, we did not have the wherewithal to change it completely. We continued with it. And there was a major transformation in 1968 policy when we thought, yes, science is to be compulsory. The nation must be grateful to Dr. D.S. Kothari for this recommendation that both boys and girls will read science and mathematics up to class 10. Millions of girls' fate has been transformed by this one single recommendation. You can imagine how strong the policy formulations could be. In 1986, there was a vision of a young person, Rajiv Gandhi. And he thought, and he had the idea that computers would be the in thing tomorrow. And we began work on that. The whole nation started that work, started realizing that we have to change things. 86 was, for various reasons, another policy formulation when we are not very sure how far we have been able to implement the 86 policy. But some ideas we had. We knew that teacher education institutions had to be improved. We knew that primary schools must be equipped, and there were several schemes launched by the central government to enhance the quality of primary education. Now the problem arose what we could not achieve, I would like to tell you. When central government offered assistance in terms of rooms, in terms of equipment, in terms of extra teachers to state governments, they did not cooperate in most of the cases. For example, they would recruit teachers for rural areas and tell us that yes, we have recruited say 1,000 teachers. As a joint secretary in the ministry from 89 to 94, when I would go to a particular district and find out those teachers, people would tell me quietly that they have all been posted around the capital cities or in district headquarters. So it did not work. This is a cultural context in our policy implementation. This happens all the time. The central government and the state government must cooperate in school education, which is the major responsibility of the state governments, and also in higher education. I can tell you, teacher education institutions, central government has very liberal assistance to state governments. Buildings, equipments, crores and crores were provided. Some states did very well. I remember Tamil Nadu did very well. Rajasthan did very well. They really established their institutions. Elementary teacher training institute, we wanted them to be research centers. If your school teachers know what is research, what is action research, higher level research, it will penetrate to school level also, and even children will start understanding how they can find new things. Innovations will automatically come up. But then there are other problems which cannot be discussed in a very short time. The question of teacher shortage. 1975 onwards, we learned the technique of appointing teachers on short-term basis. And by 80s and 90s, this was rampant. Every state government thought that they can save a lot of money by appointing teachers and a small honorarium. Now, these young persons had no alternative, no other job, so they came. They were unwilling, they were morose, they were depressed, and they were very unsure of whether they will continue next year or not. New education policy has written that by 2030, there would be no teacher of this category. All of them will be trained and properly recruited regular teachers. But anyway, this is a major issue in implementation, and this is a challenge even before the national education policy, because appointments in the schools are made by the state government, not by central government. Central government has some institutions. So this is one of the major areas of deficiency.
Dr. Rajput, you have seen the entire, education system at close quarters, whether we talk of school education or higher education. I want to bring in this point, this big dichotomy, a major shift. When we talk about school education, people are keen to get their wards, their children admitted in a public school, which is basically a private school, and they don't want to get their children admitted in a government setup or in a government school. But the moment the child passes out of 12th, there's a major shift. People want to go to government colleges, government universities, and not to private universities. Why is this dichotomy?
You see, about schools, if you take a total perspective, we had a wonderful reputation of government schools in 50s, 60s, and even up to 70s. The decline began when the numbers started pushing. We started the literacy rate of 18% in 1947. And we are now, I think we have crossed 80 by estimates. This is not a small achievement. And this becomes much more laudable when you consider that during this period, the population has grown up by 100 crores or more than 100 crores. It's not a simple arrangement. So we are grateful to the system that has worked for us. Whenever a system expands, there's a management principle, expands suddenly, dilution of quality takes place. And unfortunately, it took place very, very prominently in government schools. Now what happened? Slowly, everyone in the government started sending his children to private schools. And the trend has spread. Now, when children of all the functionaries of the government itself will go to private schools, their attention on improving the school will certainly not be touching the desired level. And this is my prescription. I know if this had not happened, things would have been much better. Government schools would have continued with the reputation. Today, they have neither the credibility nor the acceptability. Yes. Number one, teachers are not available in adequate numbers. Teacher-to ratio is very poor. Most of the teachers who are there in rural areas, they abstain. This is done with an understanding and arrangement with senior functionaries. All these things are known. And the point that you are making, why they start going to, they seek government universities later on, by the time they pass their class 12, their direction is very well settled. The whole struggle in school education is to get into the institutions sponsored by the government. There also they want to go to IITs, IIMs, and where they can manage fees by loans or whatever it is, and expect a good life. But when it comes by the time the child completes 12, the children, they know what is the direction where he can go. And then here also a phenomena has taken place during the last 20 years. You must be familiar that AICTE permits a good number of hundreds of management and engineering colleges to close down. Now, in a country of this size and population, we need more engineering college, we need more management college. But why are they closing down? Because those who came in the sector, they came only for the money. They came for business. They came for dividends and not for giving quality education. So our problem is the private sector has, in higher education, has not earned a reputation for quality, exceptions apart. And that is why people still say, कुछ तो better है, government वाला चलेगा, fees कम होगी, शायद कहीं निकल जाए. That is how things are happening.
Dr. Rajput, you have been with NCERT as well, and it's common knowledge that, even aspirants to the civil services use NCERT textbooks for their study and preparation. Can we have, standardization of textbooks across the country? We talk about one nation, one tax, one nation, one ration card. Can't we have a concept like one nation, one textbook, and that too of NCERT across the country? Because many times some of the states, the quality is not up to the mark of those textbooks. We will have uniformity across the country, and also, quality can be assured if we implement, NCERT textbooks across the country in any type of school, whether it's a municipal school, a state government school, or a private school, public school, whatever.
You see, you can have one nation, one ration card. But you cannot have the same food in Tripura and Trivandrum.
That's true.
There has to be food, but it has to be different. Similarly, a book prepared for, say, class 5 on the subject of environmental education or social sciences or history cannot be same in Tripura and Trivandrum. It has to be different. And therefore, NCERT is a very great institution. It has tremendous amount of institutional experience and a reputation and acceptability. NCERT, when I was the director, we used to write in every preface that here is a book which has been prepared in consultation with experts from all over the country. Top level institutions, and on the other side, primary school teachers or secondary school teachers, as the case may be. Now we give this book to the state government, the SCRT, the corresponding institution of the state, to study it and ensure that whatever books they prepare, they may have lot of material from this book. They are free to choose and use it. But the local element of the curriculum cannot be ignored. The local food requirements cannot be ignored. Local habits cannot be ignored. And therefore, this particular idea of one single NCERT book for the whole nation has to be examined in this light. You have to have variations. There was an experiment by Homi Bhabha Science Center in Bombay.
Yes.
Professor V. Kulkarni had done it. What he did, the science books, physics books particularly, which were written in Marathi, he rewrote them in the spoken Marathi in Bombay slums, right? And then these Marathi books were rewritten in local spoken Marathi, and the learner attainment went up like anything. I was deeply impressed. So education is such a sensitive area where you have to put in tremendous amount of hard work as a teacher, as a curriculum developer, and more importantly, as a textbook writer. So this is the view on this. This is how we should proceed. Even my personal view also is that we should never prescribe. This is a federal setup. There are a lot of other problems, and local element must be given importance. And that, I think, this is what NCERT has been doing.
Dr. Rajput, thank you so much for joining us in this program.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
On National Education Day, you were listening to a discussion on transforming India's education system and embracing innovation. The participants were Dr. J.S. Rajput, educationist, and S. Rangabhashyam, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about the program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 928 909 4044.